Hi folks, it's John Nizman from lastchanceautorestore.com, and I'd like to share with you another update. This is the 1958 Impala two-door that we're doing quite a bit of work on, a total ground-up restoration. So the last time you saw this body, we had sandblasted and stripped down to bare metal. We had a lot of sections that we exposed the rust. We ordered a lot of sheet steel and patch panel repairs. They've arrived, and now we've started on the structural work of this 58 Impala. So as we come, the biggest thing we had to do, we had the body obviously on the rotisserie, and then what we wanted to do before we started to cut into the floors and affect too much of the bracing, because there was a large amount of corrosion in the floors and in the cross bracing, what we wanted to do was support the car first. And this is a crucial step, a very important step to do. So you can see we have, first of all, underneath the dashboard, you can see there's tubing that we have going from one side of the cowl on the driver's side, and that tube goes all the way over to the opposite side. So we've got a beam going across to support that lower cowl section. And then you'll see in the back part of the car where we have another section going between the two quarter panels, and we've welded that to the inside, and where we've selected to weld is not going to affect anything on the car later when they're removed, but those are important points for support from side to side. And then what we needed to do is make sure that we kept the body square. So we set and dry fitted both of the doors into the openings before we modified and changed anything. So we had the doors on, we made sure that the strikers and the hinges were in the proper location. Before the rocker panels were removed, we made sure that we welded all of this structural tubing in after we were certain where the body position and where the doors needed to be. So once we did that important step, that's when we continued with the square tubing and welding the support pieces in. So as I mentioned, you have one across the front, one across the back, and then we tied both the front to the back with these two long tubes. We got a quarter angle iron on this side and then square tubing on the other. So now that the body is square, then the next thing we did is we wanted to make sure that the door opening and the position of the quarter panel, nothing would change there. So then we've welded to the inside of the door edges and enough room that we can clearly work on the floor and the rocker panel areas not being in the way. So now that we have all the structural pieces to make sure the car is square, then we removed both of the doors and we began to measure, mark, and cut away the corrosion. So you can see down on the floor there, that's a lot of the rocker, the rusted out rocker panel, with the exception of that far panel which is brand new. All of those panels was what was trying to hold the floor and the rocker panels and the main structure of the car, and you can see a lot of those pieces are rotted right through. So what we had done, after we removed the rocker panel, there was also an inner rocker panel, which I think the camera can pick up on. There's quite a bit of work that needed to be underneath. So we have a panel coming for this area, so we've marked and cut it out. We had the inner rocker, which was all rotted away, and that was removed. And then this is the new inner rocker panel that's set in place. Before we could install this inner rocker panel, we had to reconstruct, and this is new metal in here because there is nothing in behind to weld or attach to. So now we have this done, and then we have a rust inhibitor sprayed all the way inside before we go to close it in any further. So now that we have structure in place and the inner rocker in place, then we're able to fit in the new replacement rocker panel, and it's a beautiful reproduction. It has the original notches that are factory correct, and the camera can probably pick up on it. We've got the little square, we've got the drain hole. So this is exactly like it was in 57, so it's a beautiful reproduction. So we have it tack welded in place. We have, as I mentioned, the inner rocker panel in place, and then we began to remove the rotted material. So we removed this rotten floor on the driver's side, there was a couple of support rails that were rusted, and we just removed them out of the way. And then we've basically just starting to set in, dry fit the pan to the proper location and tack weld it in place. This middle section they don't reproduce, and we're going to make this. So we've made the one panel, and there's going to be a second panel from underneath, and we'll be replacing all of the corroded metal with new steel. And then this rear section, which you can see we have it all rotted through, we'll end up removing all of that, and we have a replacement panel. And it's a very nice reproduction, and I think the camera can probably pick up the grooves in it. These are the exact grooves as the originals. So they're an excellent replacement pan. They're very, very thick, and they're going to work out quite nicely. So we have all 4 panels for the floor. We have both front sections and both rear sections and a lot of support pieces. And then, real important on a 58 Impala are these braces. So we have every brace that we're going to need that is rotted away with some fiberglass and different things holding it together. We'll now be able to weld these back in place for the proper structure. So we're making excellent progress on that. And then I'd just like to share with you, there's other panels. Rather than pulling all of the steel panels out, I just wanted to share with you this one panel. So we have a replacement that's going to come around the flare, where you can see it's all rotted out, and there's a lot of body filler in behind. So you've got holes through here and around. So we have a patch panel that's going to go there that we're going to cut out and replace. We also have a beautiful panel that's going to go into this section here, but we also have the rollover part, that's the lower trunk, and then we also have the trunk floor sections. So here's an example of an excellent reproduction replacement panel. They're very hard to find, and this one is obviously for this driver rear area. And I'll just show you, you can see here where it's had numerous repairs and patches on top of rust and pop rivets, and there was lots of body filler that we share with you in other videos. So you can see with all this corrosion and rotted out sections, we will then cut this all away. And then we have this replacement panel, and I'll just kind of hold it up there. This is a really nice panel. So once the old rusted out stuff is cut away, we'll have to modify this slightly, but this will fit in here perfectly. So it's really important on a restoration that we have a plan in place. We're able to find, we're really lucky to find most of the panels that we need for this 58 Impala, and then we'll share with you as we go along with the reconstruction and all the new steel. So I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.